Rick Grimes and Michonne Grimes from the hit TV show The Walking Dead are finally introduced as the new survivors for Dead by Daylight, with various skins to choose from, including Daryl Dixon, 6 brand new perks with unique mechanics, and a new map inspired on a scene from the show. So let's talk about the survivors, and sadly in this PTB, Michonne was unplayable, but you could still see her cosmetics and how she looks, as well as use her perks on other survivors. Rick Grimes was the only playable survivor, along with a Daryl Dixon legendary cosmetic and various skins. As always, these survivors are purely cosmetic, so let's talk about their perks from worst to best in my personal opinion. Overall, I will say that not a single of the perks in this update is on the same level as something crazy like Babysitter or Botany, so don't expect any of them to be meta. They will be novelties, with content creators claiming they are absolutely crazy, but just like Blood Rush, they will be forgotten with time. However, what I did notice about these perks is that all of them are fantastic for bully squads, not Navy SEALs, which will use Shoulder the Burden. I am talking about flip-flop power struggle bully squads. So let's start with the weakest perk of Rick in my opinion, and that is Teamwork Toughen Up, which follows the same logic as the other teamwork perks in that it's not good. This perk activates when a teammate stuns or blinds the killer within 24 meters of you, and then your grunts of pain, scratch marks and pools of blood will be gone for 30 seconds. Honestly, the fact that you are bringing a perk which depends on having a teammate stun the killer while you are in a chase is what makes it not going to be meta ever. The only situation where it can be useful is if the survivor goes down on a chase after wasting a pallet, and now you can use background player while injured and hide from the killer while running in order to set up a flashlight save. But then, you're using a perk that requires coordination, and at that point, why not use something like self-preservation, which does not require a stun and can be used anywhere. Overall, it's a very bad perk that's only purpose is to make content claiming value out of it, which is not the case for my channel. Next up, we have Come and Get Me, a perk that I quite like thematically, but it's not that useful. This perk activates after unhooking a survivor, and you can choose to crouch in order to scream and activate this perk, revealing your location and hiding the scratch marks and bloods of survivors within 24 meters for 15 seconds. I like the design of the perk, and I find it funny, but objectively speaking, this is just a worse version of Babysitter, so nobody is going to use it outside of the Adept. I do think it's a very healthy perk design, so design-wise I am happy with it. It's just that survivors have so many more busted options nowadays that there is no reason to use it. And finally, we have the most interesting perk of Rick Grimes, and that is Apocalyptic Ingenuity, which activates after you unlock or rummage a chest 2 times. Using the ability button will allow you to build a fragile pallet, which works in the exact same way like an anniversary pallet does. I love this perk because it brings something completely unique for survivors, just like Potential Energy and Chemical Trap did. And this perk is not that good because of the condition it has of having to search chests, and also because it's a fragile pallet, and as a killer, you have a lot of counter to it since throwing it down will break the pallet. There is a cool interaction with keys, because any survivor rummaging on a chest you unlocked with 1 will still grant you progress on the perk, allowing you to duplicate chests with 1 charge of a key. Where this perk shines is in making dead zones into a pallet save potential, just like the anniversary pallets were. It is much weaker than those pallets because you don't get them automatically and you have to set them up beforehand, so it takes a lot of time. But when set up properly, as a killer you don't have any counter to this situation, basically like it how can already happen with Power Struggle Flip-Flop against a bully squad, which if you remember on my counter guide, is one of the only tactics that has 0 counters by killers unless you are specifically playing Pyramid Head. Again, I don't think this perk is going to be in any way a popular pick because of the chest condition, but when it does work, it's going to be very annoying for killers. I do like its design and how it brings a new mechanic for players to use. Now, Michonne's perks on the other hand are much more interesting, but Teamwork Throwdown is not one of them. This perk works like the reverse of the one from Rick, where you activate it by pallet stunning or blinding a killer, and this will allow nearby survivors to see the killer and get endurance for 10 seconds. I can't think of a single situation where a killer will down a survivor 10 seconds after being stunned or blinded unless it's a nurse with enduring. So in other words, nobody is going to use this perk outside of an adept, and there are much better options to help your teammates like Metal of Man, Aggressive of the Record, or Duty of Care. Last Stand is by far the most insane perk in this update because it allows survivors to do something new: window and dropped pallet saves. This perk will activate after being in the terror radius for 60 seconds without being in a chase. After that, the next time you fast vault near the killer, you will stun them for 3 seconds, and after that, the perk will be disabled. This perk is not going to be meta because it can only be used once per match, but at one time could be a window or pallet save, as you can use this perk in order to stun the killer and save your teammates with it. For that reason, this is going to be very annoying to play against when a bully squad wants to get the clip for their TikToks, but outside of that situation, and most importantly for the average player, they won't be using this perk outside of the adept. The closest perk we have to becoming a great choice is Conviction, which activates after you healed one survivor. While down, you can recover up to 25% in order to stand up for 30 seconds while broken, and then you go down again. Remember how you have to check for any potential survivors coming in for the rescue before picking up a survivor? In that time, that survivor you downed has time to get back up again. What keeps this perk in check is the broken condition, as you will go down no matter what. But even with that condition, the true potential of this perk is making game-changing plays and deciding where you die. For example, if you go down in a spot that is not favorable for you, as long as there are teammates that bother the killer into not picking you up, you can just stand up and go somewhere else to die, where maybe the killer won't find you, or now they have to waste time into chasing you, losing up to 30 seconds. Another situation where this perk is crazy is when the killer has a survivor hooked and they are slugging another one nearby for pressure. Now, that survivor can get up and save the hooked survivor if the killer doesn't expect this perk in play. And finally, it can be used in endgame scenarios where you get downed near an almost complete door, and now you can just stand up, open the gates and leave, and this endgame scenario is where I feel the perk will shine the most. This is the only perk from this patch that I can see being absolutely game changing when used right, as it can kill the pressure that a slugging tactic can give. I see it like a new side grade of Unbreakable, where you trade security into high risk, high reward. So overall, Unbreakable is still much more viable to use, but Conviction is faster and can turn the tides of the match when used right. You can also bypass the condition of Conviction by using Plot Twist, as that perk allows you to get up even when you are broken as long as you use it, so I can see this combo being used in some matches. So overall, would I buy this chapter for the perks? I would say that yes, because especially of Michonne, as her perks offer 2 unique gameplay interaction, whereas Rick only gives 1, which is not that strong. Overall, I am very happy that there are no shoulder the burdens in this patch, or worse, a strong perk that because it is licensed, will turn Dead by Daylight even more pay to win. Now let's talk about the item changes in this patch, and I have to say that I am surprisingly very happy with them. So what they did is a complete rework to maps, keys, and added a new item for survivors. But on top of that, they changed the add-on system for these items and gave them only 5 add-ons, but each of them are unique effects and rarities, and this I absolutely love. I want them to do this exact same change for toolboxes and medkits. Just remove a lot of the trash add-ons and keep only 5 that completely change the way the items work, like a sabotage add-on and brand new part for toolboxes, and the syringe, styptic, and an add-on to mute medkits for the medkits. The fix of the add-ons make the survivor's blood web much better than before, because now I am excited to get these add-ons as they are item altering, unlike the old add-ons for maps and keys, which were a massive waste of blood points. I think this is a fantastic step in the right direction. So, starting with the maps, there are 3 of them now. I have to say I was wrong about them. They are not replacing windows of opportunity because they are not instant, as you have to charge them in order to see the aura of windows and pallets. It is still a very useful item that will help new players a lot, especially because of the new feature of revealing generators, as you can use it to know the exact position of the gen you want to go for. And for totem builds, you can still use a very rare add-on for that. So overall, I am very happy with the maps and looking forward to what add-ons they can add in the future. Keys are also much more fun to use, as they work like information tools that allow you to see the location of your teammates as well as open chests to get new items too. I absolutely love how they rework the Blood Amber, as it now reveals the location of everything in the map, but it also tells you the killer you are using it. So now the killer knows you have this item in play and can play against it. Very happy with the keys too. However, I low-key feel like in a Navy SEAL squad, there is still absolutely no reason to not use a medkit or a toolbox. So maps and keys, despite being much more fun than before, are still useless. But it's not because maps and keys suck, it's because medkits and toolboxes are so good that it would take an overpowered weapon in order to overpower the medkits and toolboxes. And now let's talk about the Fog Vials. I think that conceptually, it is an amazing item that fills the deception gap that was missing from a Survivor's loadout, and it is much better than I expected, because I thought it was going to work like an Omen smoke from Valorant, but turns out it's more like a Viper ultimate. The size of the Fog Vials is gigantic, and the best part is that I feel like they finally added an item that nerfs the nurse, because she is by far the killer that gets the most messed up by this item, along with Spirit. In fact, I think this add-on messes up more with the high tier killers compared to the low tier ones, because if you are an M1 killer, you are already on top of the survivor, but the strong killers can jump on you from afar, like Ghoul, so for them, this item is much stronger. In terms of gameplay, I am surprised that they added an actually useful item that can be used various times in the match, and also gives them a reason to run something other than a medkit or toolbox. This item becomes insane with the Iridescent add-on, because with that add-on, the fog becomes so strong that even Silent Hill becomes jealous, and I feel like people are going to run it with that add-on, as then it actually becomes a problem that makes me lose the survivors due to the muffled audio and lack of scratch marks. Still, as much as I am biased towards killers, I love how there is a new item for survivors that completely changes the dynamic of a chase and rewards misdirection plays, along with confusion. So overall, I am happy with the Fog Vials and happy to see a new item after 9 years. My only issue is that it is funny how a game that claims to be so for accessibility features added an item that can cause them, as this works in a similar way to the clown's gas bottles in Disorientation. And also, depending on the map, sometimes it flashed me, burning my retinas, which I am going to assume is a rendering bug, but it's bad. I hope that at some point, they do add accessibility toggles that help with this item. For example, instead of muffling the audio, just mute it. So now let's talk about the killer balance changes from this patch. And let me go over the positive first, starting with the pig, which is a buff. She feels less dependent on the add-ons, so I am happy to see her in this state. It's so much better compared to before. I don't think this is going to make her climb any tiers, but it's still important that she feels better. So overall, fantastic change. And now let's talk about the star of the show, Pyramid Head, who got various changes to his kit, and I am very surprised because his add-ons went from a joke to becoming, just like Freddy and Legion, some of the most interesting add-ons in the entire game. There is a lot of variety, making various builds possible, with some of my favorites being the double tap build, which allows you to get 2 back-to-back hits thanks to the cooldown add-on combined with an add-on that reveals the aura of survivors hit with your attack. And then we have the sniper add-on, which is the iridescent seal of Metatron that makes your attack longer the more trails you leave in the map. There are so many more viable build options now that I am very happy about it, but also surprised that these changes on top of the overall buffs make an already great killer like Pyramid Head even stronger than before. I hope that none of the add-ons get nerfed, as they are all cool and actually worthy of their rarity. Now let's talk about the negatives, starting with the clown, who got the purple bottles nerfed and the yellow ones buffed, along with a lot of add-ons that got straight up nerfs. The reasoning behind this change is actually really fair. The devs want clown players to use both bottles, but the majority only use the purple ones, making him brain dead. So I get the effort, but this change only made clown more brain dead, as now all they have to do is put a yellow bottle on the ground, and they become so fast that they can just get hits on loops without breaking pallets. Now, I can win matches only using the yellow bottles. The purple ones feel very weak, to the point there is almost no reason to use them now. In my opinion, the devs shouldn't have touched the clown. I understand their vision of this killer, but I don't think nerfing an already considered weak killer and then buffing an A tier killer like Pyramid Head in the same patch makes them look good as a balanced choice. And the final killer change from this patch is the Night nerf. And honestly, I am not even going to waste my time talking about it because it's bad, and I am sure it's going to be reverted. The Call to Arms buff is very nice, and the new feeling of summoning a guard is actually surprisingly way more flexible than before, as now you can strafe side to side, which feels much more responsive. However, the banner nerf has to go, because it makes this killer dive straight into C tier category, making his power useless. It completely nerfs the Jailer, which is the character you use to bother survivors with. Meanwhile, it buffs Carnifex for no reason, when that character you have to use to break pallets instantly in chase. So the night changes are a buff if this one is removed. But currently, it is a straight up nerf because of how bad the banner changes are. Like I said, I think the devs will revert them, so I'm not even going to fearmonger or bother changing my night section on the beginner's guide. It's the same thing I said for Clown. It's weird how an A tier killer got so many buffs, yet Knight, who is at best B tier, got a massive nerf in the same patch. I wish I understood why this was the case. And finally, let's talk about some notable perk changes, as the majority are not that game changing. The first one I want to talk about is how they completely gutted Franklin's Demise, which is a buff for medkits, so that means after this patch is live, the healing meta, which I already discussed in detail in various videos, is going to become even stronger with nothing killers can do other than using Plague, so I am not a fan of it at all. I think that they removed the charges dropping from this perk because they don't know how to program the items to work based on the new charge system they have. For example, how would this perk work on the new Fog Vials? But that means that the healing meta, which is already insanely busted, is going to be even stronger now. So I am not a fan of this at all, and honestly, out of all the changes from this patch, this is the one that I am the most against of. On the other hand, I am very happy with the Overwhelming Presence rework, because it actually gives a visible effect when a survivor gets exhausted. So for example, you can run Languid Touch now, and it will reveal the aura of the survivors when you do so. It's a very cool perk, now that it's actually usable compared to before, so very happy about it. The only perk I want to talk about on the topic of survivors is that they buffed Build to Last, which was an already fantastic perk before, so seeing it get a buff is just weird in my opinion, especially because it works so well in the healing meta, and it also helps in the Gen Rush builds. And that is all notable from this patch. And in the background footage, I am showcasing a tour on the new Walking Dead map, which is apparently not going to be a map, but rather a tile that can spawn in Garden of Joy. But it makes no sense, since you can choose this map in custom matches, and it also comes with a unique filter as well as a unique sound when joining, so I am not sure on what this is going to be. Let me know what you think of this patch, and if you agree or disagree with my takes. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.